Hello and welcome to FX Street Currency in Play. I'm Matt Brown coming to you live from the heart of London. I'm joined today by Eddie Topic, who is head of FX at ADMISI. Get the name right. How are you today, Eddie?
I'm much like the weather. The word torpor comes about. It's a bit of a humid day and the markets are a little bit humid, sort of torporish, if there's such a word, but definitely of the word torpor.
Word of the day there. And there's not really actually too much to talk about, and the FX markets are feeling a little bit flat today, but we've got a few headlines really to hone in on and focus on. Starting off with dollar yen within range around the 109 level, and obviously focus on the military exercises by the US and in conjunction with South Korea. The rhetoric picked up a little bit over the weekend with regards to North Korea talking about Guam and Hawaii potentially as targets.
I'm surprised they haven't made a bigger thing of it, because this thing has been telegraphed. Well, everybody knows it's this time of year. There's a short division of just under 20,000 troops from the US operating there. A lot of it is computer generated, so it's not actually physically stuff moving, but it's all in the cyber ether sort of thing. And I thought I would be surprised there wasn't much more made of it. So maybe everybody's a little bit calmed down after what happened earlier this month, I think, really.
Yeah, it feels like a kind of wait and see now for the next move.
Yeah.
The rhetoric was there, but now maybe the market is
and they could always surprise us.
Indeed.
They could always surprise us, do something.
And certainly this morning we saw kind of Asian markets or equity markets sell off a bit, and this was really on the back of Steve Bannon stepping down, albeit the US equities actually had a bit of an uplift from that. But certainly the Trump issues going on in the White House, they're in focus, and maybe the North Korea issue will take a bit of limelight away from that.
Well, the other thing that happened overnight really was seeing a rise in metal prices, specifically nickel, which I think was a recent high. So we've seen a lot of stuff coming in from that China. Maybe his will calming down, but definitely the base metal prices have been moving higher over this last 24-hour period or 18-hour period. And
moving on, euro dollar expected to stay sidelined ahead of, well, we've got the Jackson Hole Symposium starting at the back end of the week, and I think that will draw some focus. There's been a bit of talk that Draghi isn't really going to present anything new or make any kind of big policy statements at Jackson Hole, so the market may be a little bit disappointed if they're looking to trade that.
Yeah, and also in addition, I think you look at Cohen, the economic advisor. I think his star seems to be, from what I've heard, in the ascendancy at the moment, and maybe there is the first relatively decent challenge to Janet Yellen as head of the Fed. So that'll be interesting to see how the information comes out regarding those two specifically, I think.
Understood. And cables supported near the 128.30, remains below 129. We saw a bit of a lift up, but really, what do you make of this pair?
Yeah.
It's a nothing story.
Yeah, it's a nothing. It really is. That's exactly the words I'd use. It's a nothing. They're just, if you want to, and I will do later on, it's just a story of a nothing.
People kind of scrabbling around trying to put a story onto moves that aren't.
There's nothing.
Really there.
There's nothing. There's nothing going on.
Everyone's away. We've got a UK bank holiday Monday, and we've already spoken about Labour Day, obviously.
We're running into this holiday period. A lot of people are off already.
Understood. Well, you've kindly brought along a few slides, 5 slides, to actually give a better picture of where these markets are, where they could be going over the coming weeks. And we start off with the Aussie. Again, we were talking about commodities just now, and this obviously a big commodity play. So just walk our viewers through this chart.
Well, it's been interesting. It's come back down to the 50% Fibonacci level at 78.17 and bounced straight off there. That's the first area, and that was earlier last week, around Tuesday or thereabouts, late Monday, Tuesday. And we've seen a follow through to that, and we're looking at the moment as if it's going to go further higher, try up to the previous highs, which are around the 80.66, 80.74 area. That's an interesting opportunity to try higher. We have effectively from that action a weekly key reversal up. Higher high, lower low, and above 2 previous closes. So on the slightly longer term, it looks like it's potentially going higher. I've circled 2 specific dates there in the future, dates to watch out for, because they cover the crossover of the 2 tines, the Andrews and the Andrews pitchfork and the shift pitchfork. The first one is the 4th of September, which unfortunately is also Labour Day in the US. So it'd be an interesting one to see what the Aussie does. over that Sunday night, Monday night period. I mean, it's an approximate date, but it's around that sort of period.
Put that in the calendar.
Yes.
Don't walk away from the market.
Yes.
You've got to trade on in this.
And the second one is the 12th of September. There's no specific data around that period, but those two times, usually when you have crossovers in other currencies, in other commodities, in other indices, you see an increase in volatility, potential beginning of a trend or change in trend. And I think it could be a big trading day. It may be a very tight trading day, but it could be a very significant start or end of a move. So maybe I'm not even going to speculate because it's a little bit too far ahead yet. It's 2 weeks ahead, so to speak, of the earliest one. But it's an interesting one and something to watch out for.
Definitely. Fantastic. Let's get that one in the diary. Euro dollar, we already touched on this slightly, but walking through the chart.
Lovely. The Andrews pitchfork for that is still guiding it. We're still moving forward. We have resistance on the upper time at 120.67, middle time at 118.43, and the lower time at 116.16. It's more or less gone a little bit sideways, though I have heard talk that this could be viewed by some as a halfway hesitation or a bull flag potentially. So if that case, you'll be looking up to 122 and a half, something like that, or right off the top of the chart if it does happen. But it's an interesting chart. There was a key reversal down a couple of weeks ago, but it's not really followed through. It's gone sideways, if anything else. And it's still within this lovely pattern from March, April. It's just a beautiful pattern. It's still there. It's still looking good. It's got bullish potential. All the lagging indicators, the moving averages are all showing higher. So it's a really, really good chart still.
And this one, buy and weakness within this range.
It looks that way. It looks as if you might see it come down to a 16 or change, even down to a low 16 level, but it still looks good at that point for further opportunities on the upside.
Perfect. Moving on, we have euro sterling.
This is where you look for confirmation. You look for another cross currency. And in euro sterling, it's a later one. It's much later. It's June through to July where we see the pitchfork there. But we're tapping along the top very, very nicely. We had a key reversal up a couple of weeks ago. We're seeing movements higher. We had a high on Friday. Today, we're sort of a little bit quiet. Obviously, we've just said it's going to be a quiet day. But the caution is we are up near the 21st century high, which is at 94.12. We're moving gradually towards that, which is nice, but there's a lot of resistance above the market. If we manage to get, say, over the 91.40 area significantly, say 2 closes over that, then it's fairly free water for 100 points. The upper side resistance is 91.65 at the moment, and we could actually break up through that and go into even new territory if it chooses that. At the moment, I'm just cautious and saying it's a lovely chart to go higher.
Understood. And look for Brexit negotiations as well.
Yeah, that's. But to be honest, is anything going to happen over the holiday period?
I think we're a few months out before we see some big moves on that front. But and that brings us nicely on to the cable. We were talking about the nothing trade.
The great big nothing. there is, on Friday, there was indecisive doji cross, which is a higher high, a lower low than the previous range, and then literally basically crosses right at the same, open and closes the same, and that's what we have. What's interesting about this is we're going below the lower time and also the medium moving average. We're starting to push down. Now there's a hell of a band of support which is roughly around about the 128.12 to 128.22 area. If that goes, then we could actually see all the way back down to about 126.80. And that would be very, very interesting. The point I raised right at the bottom of the chart is key reversal up, but no follow-through. Where's the follow-through? There's nothing going on. In fact, it's actually heading down at the moment. And just by going sideways, it's heading down. Because the rest of the market, the history of it is pushing higher. Just by going sideways, it's negating that or disturbing that sort of initiative.
The upward trend, yeah. It's worth noting as well, Bank of New York are saying they're seeing some outflows now in sterling, and over previous months they saw inflows coming in. This is the hard money, the asset management money. They obviously have a large amount of money or funds under management, and they're seeing, or as a custodian, and they're seeing outflows now in sterling. Whether this is a view or just positioning from asset managers.
We're also in the holiday time. We've got the bank holiday on the Monday. So to be honest, there's more interesting things elsewhere.
Indeed, I think the Aussie is probably
that jumps out
out of all these charts. And well, Bitcoin. We couldn't let this one go. Again, a big push up last week, but it's pulling back now.
Consolidation, yeah.
Consolidation back to this 4,000 level.
Yeah, I mean, the 4,050, 4,080 area is roughly where you should see some consolidation. If we get below, say, 3780, then there's a quick move down to 3,500 basically. There really isn't very much underneath it. At this particular point, this will be very responsive to what's going on in the South Korea situation, the Guam, all of that, because there's a huge amount of interest in this from Asia. So consequently, at the moment, we've not heard the rhetoric, and this is a significant indicator of the lack of rhetoric. There isn't the stuff. The balance situations also, that really didn't help in the past. It's helped the Bitcoin higher, but it's just gone calm at the moment. So everybody's just sitting there wondering, is this a leg up? Is this a hesitation and we go further higher? If we do, then 5,075 is the next area really on the upside. Apart from 45.95 area, there really isn't that much beyond that. But if we come back down, it could be a 34.90, 3,500 area. And that's not an unreasonable move. That's a big, big area. But at the moment, it's a period of consolidation, and I'd be very interested to see how this develops.
So maybe a bit of calm before the
storm.
Yeah. Finally, we don't have an economic calendar. The reason being there's nothing. There's nothing. It's the nothing trade again.
Nothing.
But focus for investors will be towards the back end of the week with the Jackson Hole Symposium. I think we've got some GDP data out of the UK for sterling. Maybe that nothing trade will get a bit of direction on the back of that. But relatively quiet Monday, but calm before the storm.
There's a thing, I think it's throw out the trash day. This could be like a throw out the trash week towards the end, you know, ahead of Jackson Hole. The tail end of all the North Korean news, all these other things. If you're going to put some bad stuff out there, this is the week to do it in.
Get it out under the radar. Brilliant. Well, Eddie Tofik, thank you very much for joining us on FX Street Currency in Play today.
Thank you very much.